Fools, and welcome to another episode of the Formula Fools podcast. I'm your guide through the twists of turns. I'm David, your guide through the twists and turns. And to the right of me is Skin, a man who just fulfilled a lifelong dream of going to a Formula One race, as we established in the last episode.
Yes, yeah, certainly not my lifelong dream.
No, it definitely was.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, it was good.
Good. We'll get into that in a second. I just also want to say that, I understand that the last episode went out after the Melbourne Grand Prix, and all we spoke about was going to the Melbourne Grand Prix. So I apologise. I was sick after the Melbourne Grand Prix. We'll get onto that one as well. But I also just hum. I apologise. Anyway, sit back, buckle up. It's time for Formula Fools. Skin.
Yes.
You went to the F1 this weekend.
I did. So did you.
Yep.
We went together.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was good.
Good.
It was nice.
Yeah. Well, we may as well end the episode there.
Yeah. No, it was cool. It was cool. Very different to, obviously anything I've ever done before. I guess I've sort of always been into cricket and footy and stuff. So it's a totally different sport to go to live. But yeah, it was good. And there were fucking so many people there.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy.
Yeah. I think there was total attendance over the weekend was something like 435,000 people over the 4 days.
Yeah.
And we were two of them people throughout the whole 4 days.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep, we were there every day. But yeah, no, it was crazy. I couldn't wrap my head around how many people were there. I suppose having only ever really paid attention to cricket and footy and just sort of, having never really seen anything about the F1 to realise oh wow, this many people care about this.
Yeah.
It was insane. And then, I guess like you said, 430,000 people over the 4 days or whatever it was. I think it was over 100,000 people a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
For 3 days in a row.
For 3 days in a row, yeah.
Insane. Like you hear about Taylor Swift selling out the MCG, that's 100,000 people. And they've just done that 3 days in a row.
3 days in a row. Yeah. It's crazy. Well, we actually met up with a friend of the show, Paul, friend of the We Got the Chocolate show. I think his FOTS number is 30.
Sure. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what he said to us. He was actually the guy that helped us out to get tickets for the Grand Prix, and he was working the event as an events organizer or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
Organised the whole thing.
Yeah, on his own, single-handed. I mean, he may as well have been. He was great. But yeah, he was saying to us that we didn't realise the numbers, and then we sat and had lunch with him one day, and he was just we sold out every single day. We're doing this many people, and it was just holy shit. That is insane amount of people. Yeah. But yeah, I think when you realise that there was going to be a lot of people there was when we first sat on the plane to go to Melbourne, and everyone walking past us was in an F1 t-shirt or had an F1 hat on. Yeah, and you just turned to me and was like, I didn't know this many people liked F1, Dave. I was like, it's fairly popular, Skin.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Yeah, I never even, it's I don't know. Yeah, you say that, I've heard that said about so many things before. You just don't really take notice of anything until, I don't know. And then as soon as you start noticing stuff like F1 merch, I'd never seen that out in public before. And then suddenly it's fucking everywhere now that as soon as we start recording this. So,
yeah. Even yesterday I was at the pub and I saw two guys in Aston Martin, the jacket things. Yeah. I mean, congratulations to those because they must be doing well if they're buying them jackets. They are pricey.
The Aston Martin jackets.
Yeah, well, just the jackets in general. Do you know what I mean? They're like $350.
Yeah. Everything down there was bloody expensive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I had high hopes of buying a hat or something to show how much I love McLaren. I walked in and saw the hats were $90.
Yeah. That is cool.
Might give it a miss.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Literally, I bought Megan the pink Australian Grand Prix official hat, and that was $45. And I was like, okay, I'm comfortable spending $45 on a hat.
Yeah.
But then the team one's $90. I genuinely wanted to cry.
Yeah. No,
but then I bought 2 t-shirts and spent over $400 and 3 t-shirts. Sorry, spent over $400 on that. So
on t-shirts.
Yeah, well, $140 for this one.
Yeah.
$170 for the collared one, and then another $140 for the Ferrari one I got for Megan.
Yeah. Yeah, $140 on that white t-shirt, and then you spilled balsamic on it. First time you wore it.
I spent the entire day Sunday with just balsamic a massive spot of balsamic vinegar in the middle of my stomach. It was horrific.
You know what else I couldn't believe about the merch down there is how people just were happy to rep multiple teams.
Yeah.
I've spent weeks sort of pondering which team I'm going to follow and who I'm going to what bandwagon I'm going to hop on, and I'm going to be like loyal to that team. And I sort of spent ages sort of toying with that idea and just settling on a decision, and got down there, and no one gives a fuck.
No one cares.
They just, like, people will walk past you with a McLaren t-shirt and an Aston Martin hat. Or
we sat next.
No one cares.
We sat next to a girl for qualifying, and she was wearing Aston Martin t-shirt. She had a Red Bull hat and a Lando Norris hat.
Yeah.
So she had 3 different teams with her.
Yes. Yeah.
And
you and I went out to Brekkie on the last morning, and you did the same thing. I thought you looked like the biggest dickhead. You had like a McLaren jumper, your Williams jacket over the top of that, and a Red Bull hat on. I was like, this bloke can't.
I'm an idiot. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's I think because the sport only comes to each country once per year. So I think people are just, it's not like you're hardcore behind one team or one driver. A lot of people are. There's a lot of the Lewis Hamilton, the Max Verstappen fans that are just, they will only buy their merch. But I think for the most part, as F1 fans, we all just like to get around it as a sport. We like to celebrate each team that enters the sport. Yeah. Unless you're Lewis Hamilton, and then you're me, and I just don't like Lewis Hamilton or Mercedes. So.
Yeah, I know. You told me and every Mercedes fan around us all weekend. It was great. I thought we were going to get in a few dust-ups, but that was good.
No, we're in Australia. It's fine. There's not many Lewis Hamilton fans here.
Okay.
In Silverstone, when I last went to Silverstone, and Lewis and Max had a crash in 2021, and I was screaming for Lewis to get a penalty. Everyone around me that was wearing Lewis Hamilton merch was just off me. They were all like sharpening the knives, like ready to go.
Oh, wonderful.
That was a figure of speech as well. No knives actually made it into the Formula One. Great people at Silverstone Security.
Yeah, no, very good. Because this was obviously my first F1 race ever at all, but it was also your first F1 race that wasn't Silverstone, right?
Yeah. First one outside of the UK.
Yeah. How did it stack up?
Honestly, I reckon Melbourne was better than Silverstone. I think the track, there was more happening at the track for free as like general admission.
Oh yeah, and free.
Yeah,
after you pay
to get in, and you've got to buy all your food, and you're dreading like. But I just mean there was just a lot there to look at. There was a lot there to do.
Yeah.
Maybe I've not done Silverstone properly. I've only ever done it for the Sunday, so I've never done the full weekend and been able to experience everything. Because obviously, like we saw on Sunday, like. You can't move. Like there's so many fucking people that all just wanting to do the same thing. So it's difficult. But yeah, I don't know if it's that Melbourne was Albert Park was a better track, or going for the 4 days gave me a better experience of the Formula One.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know, but I thought it was absolutely incredible. Anyone that gets to go to Albert Park to watch F1, or anyone that's thinking about it, do it, because it's an insane track, and they've done such a good job of organising that. Even just from a GA point of view, like. There was a lot to see and a lot to do. Like you had a lot of access.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, there was plenty happening. And yeah, I couldn't believe. Yeah, like you're right. There was so much going on all weekend. I suppose like they had like the Porsches racing and the bloody supercars and stuff. Like it was all happening. So there was plenty to see. But yeah, so it makes sense in hindsight. But I couldn't believe it when we got there on the Friday.
Yeah.
Well, we got there on the Thursday, and it was pretty quiet on the Thursday. There was not too many people there, and I just assumed the Friday would be similar because in the F1 at least, it was only free practice or something, wasn't it? It was like there's nothing that exciting going on the Friday. I didn't think people would care that much about free practice. Yeah. And then we got there at 10 a.m. and there's just like floods of people. It was insane.
It was so funny because we were like, oh, we don't need to get to the track super early. We'll just get there for like, I think the free practice started at like 11:30 or something. Yeah. So we were like, oh, we'll rock up at 9:30, something like that. I think we left our Airbnb, jumped in the taxi, and when we got to track, we were like, oh shit. Yeah. We made a mistake. The queue to get like into the infield was probably 500 people deep when we got there, and we were like, oh my God, we are never getting over this track.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about, you mentioned Porsche there. Can we also talk about what you did in the Porsche museum, where they spoke about the history of the Porsche cars and then the future of the Porsche cars?
I'd rather not.
I'd rather talk about it. Right. So we walk in, there's all this amazing history. Here's the first Porsche 911. Here's the first Porsche Carrera, like all these amazing cars in like mini scale, walking you through the history. Yep. And then you walk through this like weird like sheet thing with like strobe lighting and everything. Yep. And it was like, here's the future of Porsche. Yep. And there's probably a $5 million car sat on this platform. Yeah. It's all lit up. There's strobes. It's all full carbon fiber. It's got like a racing wheel. The interior was gorgeous. The doors are like the Lamborghini doors. It was stunning.
Yeah. The future of hypercars. Yeah.
Future of hypercars.
It was a one of one as well.
One of one.
Yeah. It was the only one in the world. Yeah. This Porsche that was sitting there.
Yeah. What did you do, Skin?
Well, I mean, I started just walking around, getting photos of it like everyone else, as you do.
Yeah.
Got slightly distracted in the photos I was taking. Didn't see the massive step that it was sitting on. It was elevated. It was off the ground.
Yeah.
Didn't notice the step. Tripped on the step. Stuck my foot out onto the step to catch myself to make sure I didn't fall on top of the car, and ended up standing on the step and realised there were do not stand signs all over this step, and suddenly all these Porsche employees started rushing over to me to kick me out, basically.
There's a lot of very, very angry,
upset people.
Yeah, they were not happy. And also, Skin made out this step is tiny. The step was probably like knee height.
Yeah, it was like
lit up and said, "Do not step."
Yes.
All around it. It could not be more clear that you don't step on the step.
I don't know how I pulled it off.
And we'd been in there for 10 or 15 minutes at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, not my finest.
Nah.
But yeah, can't win them all.
Nah, you can't win them all.
Another thing about like going to a race, like, that's the first time I've ever been to a race at all, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird sport to watch live.
Mm.
Because you can really only see like the one corner you're sitting at.
Yeah.
Is that not the strangest thing? Like you've pretty much got no idea what the fuck's happening in the rest of the race. Yeah. And you're just like sitting on this corner and just watching like, like it's such a bizarre thing.
It's so bizarre. And especially where we sat for the race, we could barely see the screen. It's like the barrier was like the railings were like covering it. So it made it even harder.
Yeah.
Like I watched the race back on the Thursday last week, and I was like, shit, I didn't realize half this stuff happened.
Yeah.
I didn't realize George and Alonso were so close to each other for so long at the end of the race. Like I didn't realize they were like within a second for like 4 or 5 laps.
Okay.
I didn't realize that was even happening, and we were there.
Yeah.
Like I kept seeing them close together, but I just, again, you don't really know what a second is when you're at the track and you're just like next to the track.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was difficult to follow.
Yeah. Okay.
But that was the only thing I would say that the Australian Grand Prix didn't do as well as Silverstone or other tracks I've been to. Like when I've been to watch like Rockingham or Brands Hatch or Donington in the UK for the British touring cars, they would have big screens, like big fucking screens on the back of trucks.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the screens at the Australian Grand Prix were real small. Yeah. And sometimes you were sat like 400 meters away from it and you could barely see it. Like I could not read who was in what position the whole race.
Yeah.
It was tricky.
Yeah. Yep.
So they need to do better.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. We'll let them know.
Yeah. Paul, come on, tell him. Say, boys, do better. I think I already told him that. And he was like, yeah, I'll run it up the flagpole, boys. Obviously, he has zero pull in any of that, but he'll run it up the flagpole. We'll see.
Yeah. Probably the other thing that you can't really miss when you're sitting there watching motorsports live, I guess, is it's quite loud in comparison to like football and cricket.
Yeah.
The old cars driving past.
Yeah.
You don't miss them, do you?
No.
And you were telling me, this is obviously like, so these days the F1 cars are only V6 engines, right? And so you were telling me like they used to be V12 and then 10 and 8 and whatever. So like they used to be even louder and louder and louder. And now they're like the old diehard F1 fans that are like when it went to V6, they say, oh, you can't even fucking hear them.
Yeah. Like, there was genuinely, for the first few years, people would go to the track and be like, what's the point in coming? You can't hear the cars anymore.
You can't hear the cars.
Yeah. And we've got an audio grab that we'll play for you now. That's pretty loud, eh, Skin?
Yes.
Yep. Go the Fools! Good. That was Formula 2 going out on their first run of practice, and we were nowhere near the track. And we were still, I remember at that point, we were struggling to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Because the cars were so fucking loud.
Yeah.
And then during the race, no, actually, we met up with a couple of fans during the Porsches.
That's right.
And we're stood with them just trying to have a conversation. And it's like fucking 20 Porsche cars start coming by.
Yeah.
And you just stood there like,
you
for
just cannot get a word in. Yeah. And then you'd like start to try talking to the one like little straggler that's 13 seconds behind would interrupt your next sentence. It's like, yep, great.
Yeah. It was the most tricky thing.
They were so loud.
So yeah, anyone saying that, you can't hear these cars anymore, or like any of them older fans like that. In fact, we've had a few comments on social media where people are like, it's rubbish since they went to V6. It's like, rack off.
Really?
Like, yeah, like just old fans that are just, better in my day kind of. I'm sure you get it in cricket and in football and rugby and things like that as well, but we get it a lot in Formula 1.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, Skin, you bumped into, you decided last week that you were going to be a McLaren fan.
Yep.
So you'd committed, you were going to be a McLaren fan for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
What were them reasons?
Well, McLaren seem like they've got longevity. They're not going anywhere. I was nervous about following other teams that sort of just come in and out every couple of years. I just wanted someone I could stick with for a while.
That makes sense.
And then obviously they've got Oscar Piastri, who's Australian.
Yeah.
And seems like a good bloke.
Yeah. So what happened?
Thought I'd get behind him.
Yeah. So what happened Friday morning, would you say, when we got the opportunity to be near Oscar Piastri?
Yeah. Well, I pretty much just folded under pressure, essentially. It was a weird opportunity. We got there on the Thursday. We met these guys from Quadlock.
Jaden from
Quadlock, who was a legend. And so obviously they do a lot of work with Oscar, and he said, come by tomorrow. He's doing a meet and greet sort of thing, and we'll see if you can like sort of just take a photo with him or whatever. And I was like, that's very exciting. Yeah. Told us the meet and greet was at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
We met him on the Thursday when things were quiet. There was no one there. And I assumed free practice on the Friday, no one's going to be there. It'll be quiet. We'll just, the meet and greet's at 10 a.m. We'll leave ours at 9, whatever. We'll be fine.
Loads of time.
We got there at 9:30, and there's like 700 people in front of us trying to get in through the gates and stuff. We realized like, oh fuck, we've completely cooked this. Yeah. We're not going to be there anywhere near 10 a.m. And anyway, so we rock up probably halfway through that meet and greet, and we meet Jaden, and he's like, it's fine. Just sneak out the back here. He's like, Oscar's going to leave out the back and he'll walk straight past you. You can grab a photo or whatever, just quickly.
Yeah.
Sweet. That sounds phenomenal. What an opportunity. Yeah. How nice.
And the space that he put us in was huge. It was like behind the Quadlock stand. It was like only the staff could get back there. So there was no one. It was just me, you, and Jaden, and like all of this space and one golf cart.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be easy. Job done. Yeah. Just grab a photo. Can't be that hard. Just say hello. It'll be lovely.
Yeah. The fools are going to blow up. Like, we're going to put this on our social and everything. Oscar's going to reshare it.
Obviously.
Because, he loves the fools. He's within them 1,000 followers that we've got now. And he's just going to froth us, and then we become the best F1 podcast on the planet.
So that was how it was going to play out in our heads. And then as it was sort of getting closer to time for him to leave, like all these like Channel 7, Channel 9 reporters start just filling up the space. And it becomes very obvious. Well, firstly, it becomes very obvious that he's not stopping for anyone. He's got like a security guard there or something that it's like he's mapping out a path for him, like he's shooing everyone off. So he's absolutely not stopping. So it's like, okay, well, we're obviously not getting a photo with him. We'll just stand here and sort of just watch him go past. That's fine. And then it's also very obvious if he does stop for anyone, it's fucking certainly not going to be us. It's like literally like the news, like every news channel is here trying to get a word from him basically. Yeah. And so we've copped that on the chin. And then they tell us like all right, this is the path he's going to get to the golf buggy, so just stay the fuck out of his way basically. Right, was the instruction. and so I see him coming down, and I start walking over to like whatever to my left to just try and get out of the way of the path that they've told me. And then so I turn around, and somehow he's already sat in the buggy, and I'm like, oh shit, what happened there? And I realize he's like they've told me the wrong path, and he's just taken this sneaky shortcut. And I do the math, and I'm like, he literally would have been he would have just walked straight behind me as I was looking in the opposite direction. Yeah. And so we've ended up with like the funniest footage where you filmed the whole thing, and it's like, I don't know, just you would expect any normal person just be like, hello, how's it going? Like,
or at least just be looking at the guy.
Like, look at him, at least acknowledge him, just like show some sort of social skills, And then we've just got this footage where I've literally got the social skills of a rock. You've got this footage of Oscar walking past me, and I'm just facing the opposite way, just like paying no attention. I've just got no idea what's happening.
He's trying to sneak between you and a tree, and you're just like in his way. Yeah, looking all grumpy, just facing off in the wrong direction. We've played it to Lee and Mikas in the studio, and they are pissing themselves. They're just like, you could have literally met the guy you said you're following this team for, and you decided to just deck chair, turn away, There was like 3,000 people out front screaming his name, trying to like get to meet him, and you're next to him, just like donuts.
Yeah. Proper folded under pressure.
Yeah. Talking about folding under pressure, maybe not even folding under pressure. Let's just move on to Sunday night post race skin. We had a great one. We had a few beers.
Yeah, literally a few beers, Dave. We literally only had a few beers. What? I don't know what happened to you.
Neither do I.
Mate, we met these couple people who had listened to the We Got the Chocolates podcast and stuff like that. Liam and Ashley, they were great. And they were They were just hanging out with us.
This is how bad I was. I had completely forgotten her name.
Oh, wonderful.
So until you just said Ashley, I had forgotten what her name was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we literally spent like the whole day with them. So that's
it's fairly concerning.
Holy shit. And then, anyway, so around midday, like we started buying these bloody $17 Heinekens. Wonderful. So like they're so expensive. We literally would have only had a few.
No.
The time we were there.
No.
Come on, Dave.
I think, because I bought 6.
Bullshit.
No, because I went up and up, because we were buying 4 at a time.
Oh, yeah,
so every time I went to the bar, we were having 2 each.
Okay.
So I bought 6 each for us.
Okay.
And I think you went 2 or 3 times minimum.
Okay, all right.
And also
sure.
my bank balance bloody knows about that. Jesus Christ.
Anyways, we end up, so the race finishes, we go to a pub around the corner that night, and you're talking such a big game about how much you love Guinness. Mate, you should see me. I can put away bloody 10 pints of Guinness, no worries. He's like telling me all these stories.
Honestly, I was over exaggerating it so much.
Yes, yeah. And I don't really give a fuck about Guinness. Like I'm happy to try it, whatever. And then, so I buy around, Liam buys around. I come out of the bathroom, and you had just been like offering donuts for the last half hour as well. By the way, like I'm just having a chat with these lovely people, and you're just sitting there like on your phone. Like, I just genuinely just giving me nothing. And then I come out of the bathroom and you're like, all right, Skin, ready to leave? I've got a taxi. He's waiting outside. I was like, no.
You're halfway through your Guinness or something like that as well.
Yeah, literally not at all. Like I'm pretty sure it's your shout, actually. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. And then anyway, so you pissed off, and then we decide, okay, well, all right, I guess the night's coming to an end. We won't have another round of Guinness. And so like, I duck off to get some food, and so you've just left me stranded in the middle of Melbourne City. So
I'm a pig.
Yeah, I've ducked off to get some food, made my way back to the Uber, back to the Airbnb, just got a taxi or whatever, and I walk in through the door, and you've just fucking passed out at the door. Like you're just on the ground snoring. Oh man.
We'll put a video for anyone watching this on YouTube, but yeah, not my finest moment. I feel like before we play the audio grab of what you experienced, I just need to firstly apologize for leaving you, Liam, and Ashley. Obviously, I remembered her name. I didn't get it wrong.
Well done.
I apologize for leaving you guys in Melbourne. I can't remember any of this. I remember the first sip of Guinness, because we played the game where you've like got to get on your first sip, you've got to get it like between the harp and the G or whatever the game is. So we played that. And then pretty much, I think I went to the toilet not long after that.
Yep.
And I can't remember anything after that.
Right.
Well, so like that first sip of Guinness did me in. And then, we've got an audio grab of what Skin experienced when he got back to the Airbnb.
Tough night disco. Yeah, man, just a couple Guinness at the local bar. No disc.
Just absolute chainsawing.
I was dead.
I sat down to eat my food, and it's just like, no, he's going to wake up, obviously. And I got through my whole burger, and you just did not move a muscle.
I'm also so confused because I thought I was in the taxi with you, and I also thought I was in the taxi having a burger. So like,
I don't know.
Either I was dreaming all of that.
Yes, I guess.
But I don't fucking know what was happening. I can't remember any of that. And then I woke up the next day, it's like, well, we had like 3 or 4 hours sleep because we then had to fly home and then record the Chocks podcast the next day. And I was dosed.
Yeah, you're proper worse the next day, were you?
Yeah, like vomiting in the plane and everything. I was done. And then that's I'm calling it food poisoning because I pretty much just spent the entire rest of the week just on my arse, like not being able to cope.
Right.
So I'm calling it food poisoning. Nothing to do with the hangover.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Food poisoning does wipe your memory from about 12 a.m. onwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was them Bao Buns. I mean, great people down at the Bao Bun shop. You had about 10 of them and
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Nah, it was food poisoning.
Okay.
Anyway, so seeing as we've had a few audio grabs there, I think we'll move on to some other audio grabs we got throughout the weekend. So I didn't realize, I think the reason I got so drunk is I was caught unaware. I didn't realize the Formula One was such a festival. And if you need evidence of that, I've got this audio grab.
I didn't know that the Formula One was such a festival.
Oh, word for word.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you go.
You can already hear
It's like you bloody prepped that earlier.
I know. Yeah. You can already hear in my voice there that I'm on my way. Like the Heineken are kicking in. And in that video, I've got 2 Heineken in my hand. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That also, so yeah, I also didn't realize that they've got they've essentially got concerts every night.
Yeah, every night.
And so we went and had a look on the last night after the race.
Yeah.
Got to see Empire of the Sun play.
Yeah. And
that was special.
Did he play? Wow. Did he play?
That was, mate, that was bizarre. I mean, I'm sure they're great people. But
Wonderful. If they want to jump on board and sponsor us, then
at lip syncing.
Yeah. It was some of the worst. Like we were still there for 5 minutes, and I think you and Liam had pointed it out, and I was like, nah, surely not. Like we're far away. Maybe we just can't see it properly. And then they cut to like the most close-up shot of his face. The mic is like next to it, and his mouth isn't moving, but he is singing. Yeah. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm off this.
It was so strange.
So obviously, Empire of the Sun performed such a great performance.
Yeah, I mean, faultless.
Yeah,
faultless.
Skin was begging for them to come back on stage.
Encore? Surely. He's got a couple more left in him.
Oh, yeah. That's right. It was so... Because he wasn't even trying to hide the fact that he was lip syncing at times. Like, he'd just have the microphone like out here doing nothing while he's singing, apparently. And then the one time he like got the microphone near his mouth, that was the noise he made. He didn't sing along. He just went, bleh, bleh. It was like, what is that?
It was the most random.
So strange.
It was the most random thing. But you were also confused about something else when we first got to the music. I'm not sure if you remember this, but you were confused by this.
I don't know, but there are no cars here.
You were obviously at this point just so obsessed with motorsport. Like it was the end of the weekend. You were like, oh, I'm over cricket and AFL. Motorsport's the way forward.
Yeah.
That you were just also over music and you just wanted cars.
Yeah, I mean, well, it does seem weird that we had tickets to the F1 and there weren't any cars around.
For that bit.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all. You've mentioned that like buying things at the Grand Prix was very expensive and how busy the Grand Prix actually was. So I did get this piece of audio as well. This was, I think, Saturday morning. Both of us were... No, this was Sunday morning. Both of us were like fairly tired. Like it's a very long weekend. So at this point, on our fourth day, we needed some coffee. We needed some caffeine in us. We got our spot next to the track. You said, I'm going to go get a coffee. Yeah. I'm dying. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Yeah. Play the audio, Charlie. There he is. He's on his way with the cough. It's only taken him, I don't know, probably an hour to get them. Oh, what a man. What a man.
Hell yeah.
Go Skin.
Mate, I reckon it was more than an hour.
I think it was more than an hour.
It was so long.
Yeah.
That was the longest line I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it was like, I went to the toilet and then on my way back was going to go get a coffee. And I'm like, just seeing this massive line of people that just fucking keeps going. It just kept going. And I was like, it can't be for the coffee, can it? It's like, there's got to be something else.
It's got to be for the beer.
Yeah. There's got to be something else down there. But no, sure enough, it's for the coffee. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can't possibly wait in line for that long for a coffee. Like, it's stupid. It's stupid. Why would I do that? Yeah. And then I'm walking back and I'm like, I mean, what the fuck else am I going to do? Like, we got there at like 8 a.m. Yeah. The race that we wanted to see, the F1, isn't until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like, what else am I going to do all day? Like, I'm either going to go sit on the hill for 2 hours or I'm going to stand here in line for 2 hours. So I just joined the back of the line for a coffee. And it was... I just stood there for hours.
It was crazy.
To get 2 flat whites.
Yeah,
it felt like the dumbest thing. I drank it in about 15 minutes.
By the time you got it to me, I was like, this is like, they're making them so quick that this isn't even hot. Like it was just ready to drink. It was ready to go. Yeah, it was cooked. But also like I think on the Friday, we were queuing for beers and we were stood in this queue for ages. I must have been in there for like half an hour. And this was the longest we'd queued. And that's when we start to realize like queuing is going to be difficult this weekend. Yeah. And this was one of the moments where there are signs everywhere. We are cashless. Yeah. You don't need cash. Just bring your card. Yeah. And then we get to this one, we're stood in the queue and everyone's like, what is happening? Why are we not moving? We've been in here for half an hour. Then they start shouting out, anyone that's got cash, please bring the cash forward. Our card machines are down. Yes. So they were completely cashless until the card machines broke and the internet was down and they needed cash. Yeah. So
such a shambles.
Yeah. So I think we'll like, let's like kind of move on to tips that we've got from the F1 because that's the first tip. Yeah, take cash.
Yeah, bring cash. I guess. Yeah,
even if it's just a few $100, like take cash because if that happens, there were so many people that had cash and were just going straight to the front and getting served instantly, and they were guru. Like they were best on ground for that day. Yeah. So some of the other things you listed, Skin, were sun cream and camping chairs.
Yep.
Why do you reckon? Well, what's your reasoning?
Well, we didn't bring them basically, and realized pretty quickly that we were fucking stupid.
Yeah.
The sunscreen, like Well, I mean, especially in Australia. Well, it is common sense. You would think, especially in Australia. Like we were sitting there on the Sunday, and it's like the sun comes out. It's bloody hot, and I just didn't have any sunscreen, and obviously didn't want to get sunburnt. So I've like ended up with like long jeans. I've got my hoodie on, and I've got the hood over my head, so like just to make sure that I'm not getting sunburnt. So which I didn't end up getting sunburnt, but it just meant I was just absolutely sweltering all day.
I realized, I realized on the Sunday in the afternoon that I'd been looking, you were to my left, and I'd been looking at you like to my left like that the whole time.
Right.
And the sun must have just been catching because the top of my nose, just the very tip of it, was like burnt by Sunday evening. And I reckon that's just because of that. But it was the same. I had my hood up. I thought I was like fully protecting myself, and then just that little bit. And it was just because we had no sunscreen. Yeah. And I know anyone that went to the race, you'd be like, oh, there was sunscreen booths, you get it free, blah, blah.
Yeah, they give you like 20 mils at a time.
You get the tiniest little bit. And also like if you wanted to go get it, it was probably from where we were a 10-minute walk and you would lose your spot. So it was like, it probably wasn't worth us going to get it.
No. Yeah.
The worst thing is that on the way to the race on the Saturday, we popped into a Chemist Warehouse to grab lip balm that had SPF in. And we didn't think, let's also grab some sunscreen because we've been burning for the past 3 days.
Yep.
We're idiots.
Yeah.
Genuine idiots.
Can't argue with that.
Camping chairs. Why did you say that, Skin?
Again, we didn't have them. We didn't even bring a blanket. We were just absolutely raw dogging it. Yeah. And it hummed. And it hummed. Yeah. It's like I don't know what we were thinking. Like I think we thought we would get a seat on those little grandstand things.
I knew we weren't going to get that because I knew you had to pay for that.
No, not the actual proper grandstands. Like we were general admission, but like those little concrete, they've got these barriers on the top of the hill that like you could sit on. We thought I was optimistic and thought we'd get a spot on there, but like the chances of you actually getting a spot on there are so slim. Yeah. And then once you're on a hill, and you've got to sit on this hill for like 8 hours before the race, it just don't do it. Just get a chair.
And don't get the cheap ones. Like we saw some people that had the cheap ones. There were 2 guys in front of us that bought kids ones because they must have been cheaper. Yeah. And they just ended up standing on them for the race because they were like so small. Yeah. But yeah, like with the people that were behind us that had the good camping chairs. Oh God, man. They had a nap and everything midday. Like they looked so comfy. So yeah, camping chairs must. 4-day ticket. I put that down on the list because I honestly think getting your bearings on the Thursday and Friday, mainly the Thursday, was the best thing that we did. Like kind of getting a rough idea of where everything was at the track. Yeah. Guru. And if you want to like really experience all them things that they had to offer, like they had like the Ferris wheel, they had the car show, they had some like other interactive stuff like the tire changing. We didn't even go to the tire changing bit to like change an F1 tire.
Nice.
Didn't even do it.
Okay. We're good.
We didn't go on the Sims. We didn't go to the golf thing.
Yeah, there's a lot we didn't do.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we're just going to have to go to Singapore Grand Prix, maybe Japan this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, if we must.
Yeah. Yeah. Just put it on the Chocks account. It's fine. But yeah, like there's so much of that to do. And I honestly think that if you get the 4-day pass, you're just giving yourself more time. If you're going to just get a Sunday pass, you're not going to do any of that stuff. I mean, we didn't do it and we had a 4-day pass, but definitely on a Sunday, you're not going to get to do any of that stuff. Yeah. So I'd get minimum of a 3-day pass if you were going to go again.
Yeah. I think like we gave ourselves the 4 days, but just there was obviously so much that we didn't know that in hindsight you would do differently, I suppose. Yeah. Like going to the Sims and the tire thing, I suppose I didn't even really think of that. But yeah, that was like, we thought we got our bearings straight. Like we had a plan on the Friday. We're like, all right, this is where we want to sit. So we're going to get here like at 8 a.m. to when the gates open to make sure we get like the perfect spot. And you just totally underestimate it. Like everyone else is all the other 130,000 people have the exact same game plan. Like they all meet at the gates and everyone just sprints through. And like, we just didn't work that hard, to be honest. Like we didn't even break out into a jog. I'm not going to lie. But so like, we got to this hill thinking we were going to end up with a seat in the stands in the barriers. And like, not only were we not getting that, but the hill was already totally full. Like we were just cramming in like sardines. And that was we got there when gates opened. The race wasn't until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was unreal. And then we're sitting there watching all these people that have tickets in the grandstand just cruising in with a coffee or whatever time they feel like. There's no stress. Like, they've got their seat booked.
Yeah. Like, okay. We were next to
I'll be doing that next year.
We were next to the Porsche, like big, private grandstand. So like you had to buy a ticket through Porsche or whatever. I don't really know how it works. And we just sat there. You just got the coffee. So we'd been in for 2 hours, 3 hours at that point. And we look up at people like sipping coffee out of a mug. Yeah. Just stood by their seat, just like casual as. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So if Porsche want to come on board and just let us into the Melbourne Grand Prix next year, that'd be absolutely brilliant because it was a great grandstand.
Did look good.
And now we're going to move on to talking about the actual race. So there's quite a lot to cover. It was definitely the most exciting race of the year. I feel like we spent the first 2 race reviews saying, well, that was boring. This one's certainly not boring.
You reckon?
Are you joking?
Well,
Skin.
Dave.
Skin.
No, I get what you're saying. It was like, it was different.
It was amazing.
Was it?
Yeah. That was like the best race we've had in a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you not agree?
No, I agree. It was just odd in that you say why it was amazing, and I'll rebut you.
But, okay. There was drama. We had engine failures. We had actual problems with cars. We had a couple of little like comings together, like crashes and things like that.
Yep.
And we had a different race winner. We had a different podium.
Yep.
And we saw cars that probably shouldn't be getting points this season, getting points this season. So like, what have you got against this Skin?
No, it was great. I agree with all of that. It was definitely more exciting than the first 2 races. The different race winner, massive.
Huge.
Mate, in the tiny amount of time I've been paying attention to F1, I was getting pretty sick of seeing old mate just fucking flogging everyone every week. It was becoming a piss take.
Yeah.
So I was pretty stoked with that. It was good. I see what you're saying. But I will say all of that excitement happened in like the first 17 laps or something. Like it was very early doors. Like the whole hill erupts, bloody Sainz has overtaken Verstappen.
Okay.
And then, oh my God, Verstappen's out, the whole hill erupts again. And it's like, this is exciting. Everything's happening. It's all happening.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right.
No,
we'll just watch another 40 laps of Sainz just cruising out in the lead. No one even looking like they're ever going to overtake him.
But what you're forgetting,
bloke just flogged him. It was like, all right, sweet. Now we just got an hour and a half to sit through where that guy's obviously going to win.
Golden rule of Formula One, never look at the winner. So the moment Sainz got out in front, yeah, he's probably going to win. But then strategy came into play. Was he going to keep his tyres? We had a 2-stop race. Norris, where was he going to finish? Piastri, where was he going to finish? Was George going to pip him? Like, who knows? We had strategy throughout the whole race because at one point we thought Oscar was on for a podium. Then McLaren switched the cars and Oscar just didn't do anything on them hard tyres. And Lando beat him. Yeah. So we had strategy throughout the whole race, Skin.
Okay.
We had the tyre strategy. We had the strategy within the teams. We had the George thing. Like he could have got a top 5, then crashed.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, we'll get on to
if
that.
You like Mercedes.
Yeah, I don't. But yeah, there was drama. There was genuine action throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
We went through that period after Hamilton went out where it was like strategy started to come into play, and you were looking at like who's looking after the tires, who's fuel managing, who's doing all these things that's going to go longer in the race. I think when we first saw, was it Fernando that pitted like real early? He was like one of the first people to pit.
Because wasn't there a safety car early doors and a couple people chose to?
No, that was we had a VSC when Hamilton's engine let go, but it wasn't till like that was like maybe lap 10 or something.
Okay.
Can't remember, but at that point, people had already pitted. Like people pitted when Max went out. Yeah, because I think because some debris came out of his tires, so I think some teams maybe had thought like we'll get a VSC for that, but we got nothing because it kind of shot out off the track.
Right.
But yeah, we had like Fernando pitting real early and quite a few others, and that was then like, shit, we're 2-stopping here. So then we had serious strategy game for the rest. Yeah. Have you watched the race back on the telly since?
No, I haven't actually.
Right. Okay. See, this is what I think at the track, it's hard to see all of that. But then when you watch the race back, you can then see like whose tires are going off, who's managing and things like that. And like the commentators kind of guide you through what's happening there. And you get this on-screen graphics of when people pitted and things like that.
Right.
I was kind of on it in the first half, like especially with them first people that were pitting. And that's where I thought Oscar had pulled a blinder and I thought he was going to podium. And then watched it back. It was actually team orders to make them swap. So yeah, but I think it was just because Oscar wasn't as good on the hard tires as Norris. Like Norris just seemed to have more consistent speed than him, which was weird.
Yes.
But yeah, Carlos winning the race.
Yeah, that was well done. Good. Yeah,
he's actually, so the stat after this weekend is that only him and Max have won a race in the last 21 races. So Carlos won at Singapore last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Max, I don't think he DNF'd, but I think he had a electrical problem or something from memory. And so like was just running really low down, like his car was broke basically. And he was just like driving a broken car, but picked up the points. I'm sure he didn't retire from that one.
Okay.
But yeah, Carlos is our only other person to beat Max. And another interesting stat is that Max was going for the 10 races in a row, like 10 wins in a row.
Yeah.
And Carlos had broke that yet again. And I think he was close. I think that would have been his 9th or something. And like no one has ever done that in history.
Really?
Yeah. So
no one's ever done 10
race wins in a row.
Wow.
Yeah. So Max would have been the first. And yet again, Carlos has interrupted that.
Right. Okay.
But then the dominance of this Red Bull, he's got more than enough races this year to still make that happen. So chances are it will happen. But yeah, after that race, seeing what Carlos did through free practice, like he was clearly faster than Charles through free practice, like was just on it.
Yeah.
And
same with qualifying as well. Wasn't he? He just looked fast all weekend. It was
qualifying. I think it was Q1 and he was like even going past us on the track, we were like, he looks good. Like he's looking fucking fast. Like he had so much confidence out of turn 1, 2 that he was like getting close to the wall from lap 1, whereas everyone else was building to it. Like he was real good.
Yes, for sure. And but he had the quickest lap times in the qualifying for a while until Verstappen went ham on that last one. But
he just pulled out a little old maxi lap.
Yeah,
but yeah, like it was amazing to see him do so well all weekend, especially 12 days or 15 days, wherever it was, after having his appendix out. Yeah, like just unreal.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And where do you reckon he's going to go next season?
Well, it seems so strange, doesn't it, that he looked so good and like won the race, and then he's like, yeah, but I still don't have a job next year, so it's a bit weird. It's the strangest thing. I don't understand at all. But it seems weird that he's without a seat at the moment, and that they went Leclerc over him, I guess. But not that I would have any idea, but I feel like it would make sense for him to end up at Mercedes, doesn't it? Like that they have an empty seat.
Yeah. But potentially so do Red Bull, because it's not looking like Checo's going to get the second Red Bull seat for next year. He's out of contract at the end of this year, and I don't think what he did last year was any reason for them to re-sign. And so far this year, like I know 1 and 2, 2 second places in the first 2 races, but
yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, but again, his car, he didn't trouble this weekend when he probably should have like at least podiumed.
Yeah,
like he had a shit qualifying.
That was weird. Why?
God knows. He just from free practice 1, he was struggling. Like he just didn't look that confident in the car, and then had a shock in qualifying and was like when you compared him to Max, he was just like, well, where were you? Like why were you so bad? And then in the race, I think he just got stuck in traffic and just was struggling to make any kind of overtakes, which is why he just didn't get up there. And also McLaren and Ferrari just had very good, consistent race pace. And so catching them was just real difficult for him.
Okay.
But it's not helping him re-sign for next year. When you've got Daniel Ricciardo, who Red Bull obviously just fucking fancy at the moment. I mean, he's a great guy, but like he's not really performing that well. Yuki Tsunoda, who is overperforming and like making Daniel look like a junior.
Yep.
You've got Carlos in a free seat. Fernando would love to jump in the Red Bull. Like you've got all these other drivers, and then all the other Red Bull juniors like Liam Lawson, who's a Red Bull junior, drove a few races last year while Daniel was out. Yeah, like all these amazing drivers that want that seat in the Red Bull car. Okay. And they're just, people, I don't know.
Sure. So what are your bold predictions for next year then?
Look, I reckon...
Where do you think Carlos will end up?
I reckon he's going to go to Red Bull.
Carlos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he started his career in Red Bull, was a Red Bull junior, raced with Max, like was Max's teammate in Toro Rosso back in the day. And so I reckon he'll go back to that family because he knows that they're going to be good going into the next era of the engine regulations. But I don't think it's the right thing for him to do. If he goes to Red Bull, it's a bad move.
Why?
Because Red Bull favor Max. So unless Max is going to leave and go to Mercedes, like the rumors are talking about, then he's never going to win. He's never going to win a championship. He'll win a few races, he'll come second, but he's never going to win a driver's championship with Red Bull if Max stays.
Right.
So I reckon his smart move is to go to either Aston Martin or Sauber, which will eventually become Audi. Because if he went to, which are kick this year.
Yeah, sure.
If he went to that team next year, he'd have a year where they're probably not going to do great. Like he might get a few points, but he would be taking a massive step down. But then the year after, Audi come into the sport and are bringing their own engine, are bringing huge investment into the sport and are going to be wanting to challenge at the front very quickly. So I think in his long-term future, that's the best place for him to go. Or Aston Martin, where they're already on that progression up the grid and are wanting to challenge for championships.
Okay.
So I think if he wants to be a champion, he needs to go to one of them two teams, Red Bull or Mercedes, Mercedes maybe is a better option than Red Bull, but Red Bull definitely not.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Skin? Where do you think he'll go?
No, not really. I mean, I just assumed he'd go to Mercedes because they had an empty seat. And yeah, I don't know enough about what's likely to happen in the next couple of years. My counter argument to you would be, if Max stays with Red Bull, he's probably not going to win a championship anywhere.
Yeah,
you would assume.
Yeah.
Max will keep winning championships. So
yeah,
rather just be it's the place where you're most likely to come second, I guess.
Yeah, but with the engine change in 26, whenever we have a regulation change with the engine or with the aerodynamics, we usually then, like before Mercedes dominance in the V6 hybrid era, Mercedes were like kind of nowhere. And like when Lewis moved to Mercedes, everyone said it's the worst decision. Why would you leave McLaren to go to a nothing team? Yeah. And then fucking Mercedes won 8 years in a row because they dominated that era of aerodynamics and engine. Like combination. And now we're in this new aerodynamic era. Red Bull are dominating. So we'll stay in this aerodynamic era, but we'll have a different engine regulation. So the chances are that teams could get flipped around again. So Audi could come in and fucking dominate. Mercedes could all of a sudden get this engine right and just dominate. And Mercedes have always been good at making good engines. So the chances of Mercedes going back up the grid, pretty high in 26.
Yeah, okay.
Ferrari could dominate, which is why Lewis has gone there. Because Lewis hasn't gone to Ferrari for next year. He's not gone there for 25. He's gone there for 26. We won't see Lewis win anything. He might win a race or two next year, but he won't win a championship next year with Ferrari.
Yeah,
If he is going to win one, it'll be in 26.
Okay.
So we just don't know.
Yeah. And then the rumors of Max going to Mercedes, is that anything? That's essentially just Toto Wolff has said they would like him to.
Toto Wolff has said that he won't say no to Max. Yeah. And then he's come out and said that, yeah, he would be an asset to the team and all this other shit. Max and his dad Jos have both said, you know, nothing's set in stone with Red Bull and contracts can always be changed and blah, blah. And at the moment they're at Red Bull and like they've kind of said all the right things to excite journalists in the paddock and make journalists write these articles about why he should go to Mercedes.
Right. Okay.
One of two reasons. Fernando's known for doing this as well in the past. Fernando did this with McLaren. He did it with Ferrari. It hypes up that Max could leave and then Red Bull could offer him a bigger contract so he could get more money in his pocket. Or it is actually genuine and he's thinking about leaving because of the Christian Horner drama and everything there, which, if it was to happen, is a bold move for Max, who is going to be a 4-time world champion at that point. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so
it would seem strange.
It would seem very strange.
But then lots and then be like, bloody sick of this.
Yeah. But then, like I say,
try some other team where they're not winning.
Obviously, we spoke a little bit, Fernando and George, they had the little spat at the end of the race.
Yeah.
Have you've seen the footage at this point?
Yep.
From like both on boards and everything?
Yep.
It was a horrific crash. Like it wasn't like a big impact or anything like that, but it's not what we want to see. Like it was very similar to Alex Albon's the other year, but he kind of ended up in a worse position, which was horrific. And obviously, you know, he's okay, which is the main thing. But it was pretty scary for him and everyone watching at that time. We've actually got an audio grab of his radio message just after the crash.
Red flag, red flag, red flag. I'm in the middle of a track. Okay. Red flag, red flag.
Red flag, you got Stroll.
Red, 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 red. I'm in the middle. Red. Fucking hell.
And then shortly after that, I don't know why I didn't keep it in for the thing. Toto Wolff comes on the radio and he's like, George, you're okay. Like, calm down. It's okay. We're getting it sorted kind of thing. Like, he's trying to settle his driver. But yeah, it's pretty horrific.
Yeah, for sure. No, he is stressing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And understandably so.
Yeah.
He's in the middle of the track.
Yeah. Well, a couple of reasons why. The reason I think what was going through his head is the position of his car. I don't think he quite knew exactly where he was. So I think he thought he was more on the racing line, which from where we were sat at the track, I thought he was more on the racing line. But seeing footage since, I think he was probably a bit further along, which was the best news that it could have been. But still, if a car had came around that corner and hit the bottom of his car, like he's most likely dead. Like it's a big accident.
Yeah.
Because he'll be sitting so close to the floor that if a car was to hit him at that angle, like it's going to seriously injure him. Like he's probably not racing again after that, at a minimum. It did remind me of a crash we had a few years ago. Fairly similar, where like it's kind of like not a massive impact or anything, but where the driver just like super stresses because they can't kind of fathom where they are in the car or on the track.
Yeah.
From Nico Hülkenberg. This was Abu Dhabi 2018.
Okay.
Are you okay? lying here like a cow.
Yeah.
Get me out of this fire.
Yeah.
There's fire.
It's all right. They're coming.
It was very similar. It was such a nothing crash. Him and I think Kevin Magnussen had a little coming together, and it just kind of flipped him upside down.
Right.
And yeah, he was just, the panic in his voice was just crazy.
Yeah.
And like he said, watching it back, he's like, I don't know why I was panicking like that. Like it was bad crash. I was upside down, but yeah, just in that moment, you just don't know where you are or what's happening. So I think very similar with George.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're glad George is okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was kind of surprised by that because like only just getting into F1 now, like I've just heard you talk about how safe they've made F1.
Yeah.
Like in recent years, obviously it used to be pretty terrible. And
yeah.
people like there would be significant crashes all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like for however many years, it like I assumed you would go out and drive now under the impression like, oh, we're all going to go home safely at the end of the weekend. Like that would be the assumption because it just seems like there are so many safety precautions put in place that it doesn't seem that risky. I was quite surprised when I sort of heard that back and realized how stressed he was.
Yeah. I think the thing is you can never get into a car thinking that you're going to be safe because you just don't know what is going to happen. The cars are way safer. A crash like that in the 70s or 80s probably would have killed a guy just from hitting the barrier. Like it potentially would have killed the guy just on impact, or he could have been thrown from the car or whatever. Like what we've got now is way safer. And that's why we're seeing more crashes where you're like, holy fuck. But the guy actually walks out of it and like it's just a bit battered and bruised, kind of thing, like nothing major. So yeah, we're certainly safer in that way, but you just don't know what is going to happen. And because I think maybe drivers relax a bit more because they think it's safer, and then we get bigger crashes like this, or like I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Guan Yu Zhou at Silverstone last year or the year before, had a pretty horrific incident, like off the line, was skidding upside down. Like it was literally just like the halo was stopping his head from skidding along the floor. Right. And then he like hit the tires and like got thrown into the barrier. It was horrific. And George was actually involved in that one, got out of his car and was like helping him out of trying to get him out of the wreck and everything. And like, yeah, like you look at crashes like that again, 10, 15 years ago, that guy probably would have been dead or very severely injured. So yeah, it's certainly safer, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have bad crashes that could potentially be life-threatening or life-changing. But the main thing for George was because he was sideways, the floor of his car was exposed. And usually you don't get hit on the floor of your car. Like it's not a high impact zone. So because of that, it's not heavily protected like the front of the car, the side of the car, or the rear of the car, because usually that bit is stuck to the floor. So anything that's going to hit you from there is a manhole cover or something. Like it's something that's, really fucking unexpected. Yeah. So his main panic would have been that is his most exposed part, and a car could easily just like cut him in half. And the next car on track was Lance Stroll. And he was coming around that section of the track when George had his crash. And I think it's thanks to Lance Stroll's reactions going into it, like seeing the virtual safety car and hearing his engineer's radio message, but also the engineer's radio message to Lance Stroll as soon as he saw the crash.
Right.
We've got it on audio for you. I don't know if you've heard this piece yet.
Yellow ahead, Russell off to 6. Yellow ahead, danger. He's in the track, danger. Be careful. VSC, run switch safety car, Delta positive.
Like, you can hear his voice getting progressively more scared of what is going to happen.
Yeah.
And like, this guy's sat on a pit wall just watching from screens and things like that. Like, that, George's message is horrific, but that message for me is the one where it's like, oh shit. Like, everyone was actually scared.
Yeah.
Because this guy's just seen it on screen, seeing that his driver's there, and he's like, fuck, like, don't hurt this guy.
Yeah. Well, I guess, but yeah, that again, like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but that, I guess that just makes it, that is something that makes it safer again as well. Yeah. Like, because Lance Stroll would have been, what, a second or two behind him, I assume?
Yeah, I don't think he was crazy close, but
yeah. But so, like, if they've always got engineers, like, in their ears, like, they, like, even if you sort of don't get time to drop a virtual safety car or something, like, surely worst case scenario, you're at least going to have an engineer tell you, like, oh, there's something ahead of you.
Yeah.
Don't flog it into this corner.
Yes. I think a few things happened because there was something like 8 seconds from the crash to the VSC dropping, and people have said, like, oh, that's not enough time, but it's actually like, holy fuck, like 8 seconds is very quick. Yeah. But the other thing that happened, which I think leads to this engineer being so on the ball, was it was to do with Fernando. It was to do with their other driver. I think had that been to do with another car, he may not have been as quick to react.
Yeah, okay.
But because that pit wall were already watching Fernando being under pressure from George, they would have seen that faster than anyone else on the grid.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that it was lucky that it was his teammate that was also involved in that accident, because otherwise, the delay might have been an extra second or two, which could have meant Lance was round that corner and in the side of George.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a few things that I think were lucky or just coincidences, but yeah, because we've had crashes. Like we had a crash at Spa in Formula 2 or Formula 3, like fairly similar. Driver's gone off into the barrier and then has come back out onto the track, and a car has come through and hit that other car because there is just not enough time to tell them, because they're going so fast and the reaction times aren't there. And usually you're going off because if they're not watching it on screen, that actual crash, then all you can see is a little dot on a map that shows that car has stopped. You don't know how bad the crash is. You don't know if they're on the racing line. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They would have been watching Alonso, like Alonso's on boards, and they would have seen that happen. And then also it was on the live feed, like straight away. So yeah, got quite lucky, old George.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And what were your thoughts on the penalty that Fernando received for his involvement in that crash? You seemed pretty off it on the.
I'm still off it.
Okay.
I still think it's total bullshit.
Right.
I understand that they've given him a penalty for brake testing him, and I understand that there are brake tracers of Fernando braking slightly earlier. We also have heard radio messages from George's engineer to George to say Fernando's struggling with brakes, and so like may have been slowing his car. I also think from his onboard, his rear light was flashing, so he was obviously harvesting energy going into that corner, so that would have slowed him down a little bit more as well. But I think George was far enough away for him to not make that happen. I think this was, and a lot of people online are saying the exact same. Like, I think George could have avoided it. I don't think he needed to react like that.
Okay.
Like, I think he could have stayed on the brake for slightly longer and slowed down more into the corner. I think he was pushing on his last lap to just try and get closer and try and get that advantage, try and get a position. Yeah. And it caused him to crash. I think George pushed too hard, mixed with Fernando braking earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
And also I've seen a clip online of like George missing his braking zone slightly going into that corner. And if you miss your braking zone by a meter, it can cause you to go significantly wide. So yeah, there's a lot of things that went wrong, but I think his penalty is total bullshit in terms of it being a 20-second penalty.
Yeah, that seemed bizarre.
It's fucking insane.
How often do you see 20-second penalties handed down?
Never. Like, I could not tell you the last time I saw a 20-second penalty.
Where have they picked that number from?
The stewards this year are being so inconsistent with all the penalties they're given. Like the fact that K-Mag had 2 lots of 10-second penalties for what he did in Saudi Arabia was just ridiculous. Like, it was not fair, the penalties he got.
What were those penalties?
One of them was, I think he squeezed Alex into the wall. I can't remember what the first one was, but the other one was he squeezed Alex into the wall. Like, he needed a penalty for it, but like a 5-second penalty is usually what would get, not a 10-second penalty. So I was very confused. 20, they've plucked that one straight out of their arsehole because I just can't figure it out. Like, it just makes no sense. Okay. And especially when you look at crashes like Lewis versus Max in Silverstone 21, where like Lewis did not hit the apex, was not on the racing line, and then put Max in hospital. And I think he only got a 5 or 10-second penalty for that. And it's like, I remember like being at the track thinking, this is fucking bullshit. Like, Lewis is clearly getting special treatment.
Okay.
Like, right. It was just bullshit.
Right. What is the rule there? Because I found it strange that like even learning that is something you can get a penalty for, like braking in front of the car behind you. Obviously I can see how that makes some sense. But then, the week or the race before, one of the Haas drivers, like that was essentially their entire play, was that sort of defensive driving. Like, he just drove in front of people slowly. Yeah, but to not let them pass. Like,
the difference is that K-Mag was driving slowly but safely. So he was just braking earlier, or he was lifting and coasting through corners to just force the car behind them to also go slow. The reason that people are annoyed at Fernando, and the reason I think they gave him a penalty, is because on Fernando's data, he gets to like, let's say the 100-meter mark to the corner, and he brakes, then he comes off the brake, and then he brakes again at like the 50-meter mark or whatever. So brake testing is when you like fake, like you'll brake to do an initial slow, then you'll speed, and then you'll brake again. And so like, it's really hard to describe it. If you were in a car and you like, I've experienced it on the motorway sometimes, and it's like, holy fuck, like it can be scary because all of a sudden they're close to you, so then you react, and then they're gone again. So then you want to like undo your reaction, and you're all over the place.
Yeah, okay.
So like it's very different. K-Mag was defending in a very safe way by slowing them down. What Fernando did was potentially not the safest, but also I don't think he was close enough for, like, George could have got out of it.
Okay.
I think George was just very excited on his last lap and was trying to just make an overtake. And so for that, he was also pushing hard.
Yeah.
If Fernando did brake test him, then yeah, give him a penalty, but give him 5 seconds. Don't give him fucking 20. Don't plug some out of your arse and just say, yeah, we'll just give him this one.
Okay.
And I think we even saw Johnny Herbert, who's now like, I think he does some stewarding or whatever. And he was at the track and we saw him on the screen, like chatting about what they look at when they're giving penalties. And what he described was not what they then did. Like he was talking about, yeah, we look at the penalties we've given in recent history for crashes similar. I was like, well, you fucking didn't do that here. You found 20 seconds from somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I just don't, yeah, it makes no sense to me. I'm off the steward's skin.
Okay. All right. There you go.
Well, that's a wrap on another lap at the Formula Fools podcast. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. It's now your turn to join the Fools family. Connect with us on socials. All of our socials are Formula_Fools, apart from Facebook, which is Formula Fools, no underscore.
Okay, beautiful. And you can also give us a little rating or review wherever you're listening. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review. We'll have a read of some, maybe on an episode. Never know.
I think we said that last week. We've still not done it. But
still haven't done it.
Yeah.
But I mean, 4 to 6 business years. I'm sure we'll work it out eventually.
Exactly.
And yeah, the little ratings help out a great deal, especially if they're 5 stars, preferably. But up to you.
We did have a rating on Apple from someone called Skin, or they just titled it Skin.
Okay.
And I thought it was you.
It was not me.
Yeah, it wasn't you.
No.
Anyway, thank you for joining us for what am I saying? Where's my chat GPT script? Here it is. Thank you for joining us at Formula Fools, where every turn is a chance for a good laugh. We will see you next time.